Hi everyone, welcome into our channel. Today we're going to talk about the most common mistakes that people generally make when selling online or launching their own e-commerce. Before we go ahead, remember to subscribe our channel, leave a like and a comment for this video. Back to the topic. Today I would like to address the most common mistakes that people generally make when selling online and that I noticed over the years while working with my clients. First mistake, product requirements. So generally, when you sell internationally, there are some specific standards that you should follow, plus any other requirements that the local market you are targeting has. For example, when you're selling any medical equipment into the US, you need the approval of the FDA, which means that you can't sell that product unless the FDA issue you a certificate. So it means that the Food and Drug Administration is going to validate your product and confirm that can actually be sold in the US. That can apply also to certain categories of cosmetics. Just to give you another example, it can apply also to supplements, proteins, so make sure that if you sell any protein bar or supplement to the US, you check if they are subject to the FDA approval or not. So other than confirming if your product needs an approval or any type of certificate, you should make sure that the product is not banned. Example, you can't sell seeds anywhere in the world. Like there are many countries who ban seeds. So if you want to sell anything for indoor gardening or something like that, make sure that seeds, plants have the right certificate and they're actually approved to be sold and imported in that country. Mistake number 2. Labeling. So when you sell a product, of course, it has a label that explains what's inside the box or what are the ingredients inside. For example, you go to the supermarket, you buy a jar of marmalade, and then you read the ingredients and you read the calories, how many calories, and all the description and so on. In that case, it's a requirement and a standard, a worldwide standard, to have such information on the label, on the jars, on those boxes for food and related products. And in Mexico, for example, if you're selling in Mexico, you should have the labels in both English and Spanish. Otherwise, you can't sell there or you don't meet the local standards and requirements to sell those products in there. Same for Canada, you should have labels in both French and English at least. So make sure you comply with the local standards too. Number 3, underestimating your packaging. So let me give you an example. It's of course great to have an amazing unpacking experience as a customer. So everything is glamorous and the box is multicolored with the different layers inside. Definitely great, I love it. However, as a seller, I'm more worried about how much I'm going to pay to ship such a box, but at the same time, how much will it cost to procure it? So at the end of the day, you may pay a little bit more to produce such a box, but for sure you're going to pay more in shipping. The reason is because carriers generally charge whichever is higher between actual weight and volumetric weight. What do I mean by that? Generally, any product has a weight, like the real weight. You put the product on a weight scale and that's the weight. 200, 300 grams, for example. However, if you use a very big box, the volumetric weight is going to be higher or heavier. So the volumetric weight is the weight that it generates after taking in consideration the dimensions of your product, or in this case, of the outer box. So if your product or the packaging of your product is too big, you're going to pay a higher fee for shipping. The reason behind that is that you occupy double space, for example, in the truck, in the vehicle, in the plane, and that is a space that the courier can use for 2 or 3 parcels of 200 grams. So in the same space that you occupy with your box of 200 grams but higher volumetric weight, the courier could use it for 3, 4, 5 boxes of 200 grams of very small parcels and charge more. So in that case, they are losing money because you're occupying more space for a product where the weight is very, very light. So in that case, they're going to charge you more based on the space that you occupy. So they don't lose the money that they could earn by someone else, other companies, other clients that could use the same space. So now let's look into how to calculate the volumetric weight so you can see the difference on how much you're going to pay if you consider only the actual weight or whichever is higher between actual weight and volumetric weight. Let's look into that. Example. So let's say that we have a box where the length is 10 centimeters, height is 30 centimeters, and then width is 20. And the actual weight is 200 grams. So how do we calculate the volumetric weight? So in this case, we're going to multiply all the dimensions, so 10 per 20 per 30, and we're going to divide everything by 5,000. So general rule is that you multiply length per height per width, and then you divide everything by 5,000. So what's the weight? The volumetric weight is 1.2 kilograms. So in this case, as you can see, the volumetric weight is 1.2 kilograms, but your actual weight is 200 grams. So 200 grams, 1.2 kilograms. So in this case, volumetric weight is higher than your actual weight. So for which one are you going to pay for? Definitely volumetric weight. So even if your box weighs 200 grams, you're going to pay for 1 kilogram and 200 grams. In that case, you should also be careful of the rate card. Reason why I'm saying that is because many couriers, they charge every 500 grams or every 200 grams or every 100 grams. So just make sure that you know what is the rate you'll be charging for. Now, in this case, let's say that the courier charges you every 500 grams. So you're not going to pay for 1.2 kilograms, you're going to pay for 1.5. And the difference between 1 kilogram rate and 1.5 kilogram rate, it's quite high. So be careful and try to understand what's the rule that the courier uses to charge you. If you have rates for every 500 grams, then you have to calculate that you're not going to pay for 200 grams, you're not going to pay for 1 kilogram and 200 grams, you're going to pay for 1.5 kilograms. Number 4, taxes. Many people think that, okay, I'm shipping internationally and shipping to another country, I don't have to pay taxes. Wrong. Most likely, you always have to pay taxes. Of course, there is a different setup when shipping D2C, which means that many countries have what we call a threshold. For example, for the United States, you can ship anything below 800 USD as a declared value, and then you're not going to pay any duties or taxes. But for example, Europe, the European Union, just changed their regulations. So before, there used to be a 22 euros threshold, where you could ship anything below that threshold and don't pay duties and taxes. Now you always have to pay it, so be careful on any regulation change, but also on the threshold of every country and the fact that you have to pay taxes. Another example could be Canada. If you're shipping D2C, you have 20 Canadian dollars threshold that you could use. If you are shipping any low value parcel, let's say $10 declared value, you have no duties or taxes that have to be paid. However, if you import in bulk into Canada to then resell locally, then you have quite a few taxes to pay. So you have the GST, you have the harmonized tax, you have the province tax, and so on. So just be careful also on how you import into a certain country. If you go D2C, so the final importer of records is your customer, or if you're importing in bulk, for example, into a warehouse to then distribute locally and sell locally. So many people think that, okay, I'm just gonna ship it and the customer is gonna take care of duties and taxes. There's actually quite big gap between what you think and what the customer thinks. Customer thinks all is included unless you specify at the checkout, compared to what you think or what you declare on your shipping policy, they may not read. So make sure that at the checkout it's always mentioned if you do include or not duties and taxes in the price, because then they're going to reject it and you wasted money on the shipping fee and the return fee as well if they reject, because they don't want to pay duties and taxes. So make sure also that you understand the differences in the Incoterms when you're going to ship DDU and when you're going to ship DDP. Mistake number 5, surcharges. So when you negotiate your rate card, either with your partner like a fulfillment center or a courier, you should be careful on what are the surcharges that they could apply on the basic rate. Because generally they share with you the basic rate, there may be something included in there like returns or something like that, but many surcharges are on top of the rate. That's why it's called surcharge. Let me give you an example. So every time you ship internationally, you may have different surcharges. For example, DDP. If you ship DDP, the courier is going to handle a little bit more paperwork for you and pay duties on your behalf and then invoice you probably at the end of the month or right after. Number 2, residential surcharge. So in that case, it's not included in the price. You have to pay for it. Number 3, full surcharge. Number 4, peak season surcharge, which means that during Black Friday, Christmas, when it's peak season, then you're gonna pay a little bit more. And generally it's either a percentage or a fixed amount, and that can change a lot if you're already paying like $20 or $30 for your shipping fee. Number 5, remote areas. So when you're shipping somewhere in the world, you don't know exactly which area is considered remote by the courier. It really depends if they do have, let's say, a local distribution or not close by, or if they have any partner in there too. So if they have to deliver, especially express couriers are gonna do it, but they're gonna let you pay more if it's an area that they can't really reach, like on top of a mountain, for example. So just be careful, always ask in which case you're gonna have those surcharges applied on the basic rate and how much it's gonna be. Is that a percentage, is that a fixed amount, when it's gonna apply and how. You can apply also for oversized parcels, for example, it's another surcharge. So just be careful and make sure you ask all the questions regarding the surcharges, because if you sell 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 products per month, you're gonna have issues if your shipping fee is too high compared to what you put in the budget, basically. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Before you leave, remember to subscribe to our channel, leave a like and a comment for this video. See you in the next one.